Hello Pop Tarts, I'm Kellyanne and you are watching Tea and Tarot on the Four Queens YouTube channel. And my tea for this evening for the first episode is Choco Aztec Spice, and I'm not even joking about that. I found it in the supermarket yesterday and it was a lot of money for only 17 tea bags, but just the description of what it was and what it tasted like was so good that I couldn't say no, and it is absolutely marvellous, and when I swallow it I can taste just the chocolatey spicy lushness on the back of my throat. It's by a company called Yogi Tea, and I noticed on the back just now, on the back of my dipper string, that it says, if we can cry together, we can laugh together, which I think is ever so sweet and very true. My subject for today's Tea and Tarot I thought would be a good one to do is goals. Obviously a great many queerants come to a tarot reader when they are either reassessing their goals or trying to work out how best to reach their goals or how to make their goals manifest. And a great many times I've had queerants come to me questioning their goals or wondering whether or not they should take a risk to obtain something that they want, trying to size up whether or not they still want what they used to want. What happens when goals get old, and what happens when they don't mean what they used to mean to you anymore? Well, I would think the first thing I would say is that a lot of people tend to grow up believing that their goals define them as a person, and that when they can actually lay out to somebody in a conversation what they want out of their life, it kind of shows people who they are as a person. So, if they want to do well at their job and they want to obtain a management position, then it shows that they're go-getting and ambitious and intelligent. Or if they want to get married and have children and have a beautiful family life, then it shows that they're compassionate and empathetic and sweet and loving and nurturing. But I think what's dangerous is when we tie our sense of identity purely to our goals, because of course we change. We change as we progress and move through life, and so our goals are bound to change too. And if we're really, really tied up in a goal and we feel that that goal defines us, it might be really, really scary when we realise one day that it doesn't mean what it used to mean and that we want to let it go. Sometimes we realise that we can't get to our goals the way we thought we could, that we've strived and done a lot of hard work in one area or another to try and achieve a goal, and it's still out of reach and we wonder what we're doing wrong. And sometimes we wonder why we decided on the goals we decided on. You could choose what you want to do with your life when you're 18 or 21, and by the time you're 30, that version of yourself that selected that goal is a complete alien to you, and you have no idea why you wanted that for yourself. And now if you had that for yourself, it would just feel like a huge trap and you'd freak out. So I've selected some cards that I always feel hold great messages for anybody questioning their goals, anybody questioning where they're going or what they want to do, or trying to bridge the gap between who they used to be and who they want to be in the future. The first card, which is really important for me on this subject, is the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups is all about choice, and I've blogged about this card a few times, and it's a card that's always had a great effect on me. It basically kind of addresses and taps into the overwhelming power of choice and the burden that a lot of people feel choice places onto their shoulders. The idea that it would be easier if there was just one path for everybody and we had no means to choose, because choosing involves a lot of risk, and it involves us being very afraid of what will happen if we choose the wrong thing. We try to kind of think in the subjunctive: what could happen, what might happen, what should happen, rather than living in the moment, because choice makes it very difficult to live in the moment when we're always second guessing what we could have done or what we can do and what we should do. I think that the most important thing with this card is it taps into what I was just saying about how your choices don't define you, but in fact you, the version of you that you are now, defines the choices that you make or the goals that you have. This guy has lots of different goals and ambitions he could choose from, and he can't select all of them. His arms just aren't big enough to kind of grab them all. So he really needs to decide what it is that matters to him at this moment in his life. Is it stability? Is it family life? Is it friendships? Is it fame and fortune? Does he want to travel? Does he want to progress at work? Is it a creative goal he wants? Is health more important to him than hedonism and mad, crazy nights drinking on the town? Basically, he needs to define his goals. And the way he's going to define his goals is by accepting that not all of them are going to take precedence, and he can't make every single one a priority. So he's got to really think about his core being and about what's going to really make him happy. He's having a difficult time, but you know, it's nicer for him to have all of those cups and all of those choices than have none at all. So really he's blessed, but he's probably not feeling blessed. He's probably feeling stressed, which is what happens to us when we have so much choice. And you know, we can't live every life that we imagine we could have. This is why Jung's idea of active imagination and living the unlived life is so interesting for a great many people in Western society, because you might have one part of you that wants to go off and be a sage and live in a monastery and never have children and devote yourself entirely to transcendental knowledge. And you might have this whole other side of you that wants to be a farmer and have a great big homestead and have 20 children and a wife that cooks you dinner every night or whatever. And those two parts of you are, you know, equally as valid, and they're equally real. You cannot embark on both of those lives. You know, there isn't time in a human lifespan to embark on both of those lives. So you know, you might choose 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, or it may be that there is an unlived life inside of you that you do in fact go off and run the homestead and have the children, but the unlived life inside of you, that sage, that wise man that you wanted to go off and be, that life still needs to be lived, and you live it inside. So, you know, I think that card can tap into that message as well, that we are only living this one life, and our unlived lives are just as important, and we need to give them space to move and to breathe and to do their thing. So nice. Okay, so the next thing I would say when we're looking at goals that have gotten old, or we're looking at goals that we now feel alienated from or unsure of ourselves in, is that tarot is very clear about the importance of knowing yourself, and I think that the Queen of Swords probably speaks most strongly about this need. She is absolutely one with the realm of intellect and the mind, anything cerebral, anything to do with communication, with assertiveness, with knowing what she wants, and with confirming to herself who she is and why she is what she is. She has smooth mastery over that realm. For a lot of people that come in for a tarot reading, they want to have smooth mastery over that realm, but it's not always going according to plan. When you have goals that you know you want to achieve, or that you know are central to your pathway into the future, you need to understand what's the best way for you to reach those goals and to maintain those ideals. Some people tend to find that writing very strict regimented schedules to kind of push themselves through and encourage themselves, or really putting their back to the wall and saying, no, you can't go out tonight, you have to do this, or you've planned to do this. Some people find that being strict disciplinarians with themselves when they want to reach a goal is the way to do it, and that it drives them forward, and that they need to kind of be strict with themselves. Other people, myself included, find that if we try to be strict with ourselves, if we try to kind of play the daddy on our own mind and say, no, you need to sit down and do this, it's only going to make us dig our heels in and be more recalcitrant, because we don't work like that. When I've got writer's block, the worst thing I could possibly do is sit myself down at the desk and tell myself that I cannot move until I've written the page. That to me would just drive me crazy. I'm way too much of a Sagittarius for that. What I tend to do is just close the book, take myself out for a walk, or go and get some company, or go and get some coffee. Just take myself away from it, nurture myself. I find that's the best way through it for me, is to nurture myself. When you're trying to attain a goal, you need to know that part of yourself that ticks, that part of yourself that gets drive, that gets inspiration, and know how to treat that part of yourself. You know, is it carrot or stick? Maybe it's a bit of one and a bit of the other, but know how to ease yourself into it, and know how to inspire yourself, and how to revive yourself and give yourself that vitality when you're feeling really crappy and you're not sure if you can do it. So yeah, knowing yourself, and also knowing as well that the goals that you're going after are still the ones you want, and if not, to be honest with yourself and have an honest dialogue with yourself about what it is that no longer works for you, and what it is that you may want to replace that with, which ties in perfectly with the third card that I've selected for today's topic, which is the Emperor. The Emperor is a guy who does what he wants, and he's the ruler of his kingdom, and he's set it up according to his own precedent, and he's set it up according to his own ideals. In a lot of tarot books that you'll pick up and read, you'll normally read a passage or two about the emperor perhaps having been under the thumb of somebody else at one point, and in fact realizing that he was sick of going the way other people wanted him to go, or sick of compromising on the things that were most important to him. So he kind of like went off and created his own realm where he could be his own man. Sometimes this is the interpretation of the emperor, and I think it's actually a great one, because I think of him as a guy who has been through it all and worked for other people and done other people's bidding and tried to see things other people's way. But after a while, he's like that button-down guy in the office who decides, no, sod it, I'm just going to go and start my own business. He's that guy. He's that guy who decides at one point or another in his life that this is it now, I've got to do what I've got to do for me, and I'm not going to be under the thumb anymore. I'm going to be my own emperor. The danger here, of course, is that he may become authoritarian or domineering, or he may expect everybody to have exactly the same viewpoint as he does, that kind of thing. So there can be a danger of him being a bit of a stick in the mud and being a bit lording it up over other people, or refusing to see other people's points of view. But essentially, he knows he's living for himself, and the dangerous thing about goals is a lot of people would like to live vicariously through you. And I'm not saying this to induce any kind of paranoia or anything like that, but in my experience, especially as a tarot reader, I've found that a lot of queerants that come to me may be realising or starting to realise that they are doing something for someone else, not for themselves, or that they're trying to be a certain way or achieve a certain state of being to impress someone else, to satisfy someone else, to make someone else feel better, to placate somebody else. The Emperor is a really great statement of autonomy over the self. What do you want to do? You know, what goals matter to you? It doesn't matter what your parents want from you. It doesn't matter what your friends expect of you. It doesn't matter what your partner thinks your potential is, or what you're capable of, or what you should have done, whatever. You need to get to that quiet space where you actually ascertain and assess what it is that you really want to do. And then you need to just be assertive enough to tell other people that that's the pathway, and that you would expect and wish for their support, but then also diplomatic enough not to make that into an area of conflict. You know, you need to know that your own voice matters. You need to give your own voice power, because it does matter. And a lot of queerants that come to me don't realise this and don't feel this way, and they do feel that they shouldn't be able to individualise, or they do feel that they should always be under somebody else's control in some way. And sometimes it's a martyrdom thing, sometimes they want to do it to comfort someone else, or so they can feel indispensable to someone else. But sometimes they just don't realise that their goals can be for them. Their goals can be things that they want to attain. You know, not things that that other people would wish for them. Okay, so the final card I wanted to address with regard to goals and what happens when we feel alienated from our goals is Temperance, which of course Temperance is obviously all about balance, and it's all about moderation, and it's all about everything being even and everything finding its place. A lot of the time, if all of our goals are centred around one thing, one area of life, or one key ambition, it can be very one-sided, and it can feel very vacuous or very void. For example, if most of your goals are to do with material possessions or material success, then you might start to feel alienated from them purely because you are actually ignoring a whole spectrum of your personality. Similarly, if all of your goals are centred around your spiritual path and you have no goals pertaining to what you would like to do in any other sense, then it might kind of make you feel not very grounded and not very attached to the material realm at all. And then you're kind of ignoring this whole other part of you, the physical part, the part with the senses, the part that wants to amass something and enjoy something and have something in the here and now. Things can get either too transcendental or too earthly. And another thing, if your goals are centred around being a great mother, having a great home, being a better family member or a better friend, these goals are beautiful and admirable, and of course goals like that can be on the list, but have some goals for yourself as well. Have some goals that are just about the relationship between you and yourself. Have some goals that are about nurturing yourself, trusting yourself more, giving yourself something that you want, listening to your heart, listening to what your heart wants you to do, that kind of thing. I think that a lot of goal lists miss out the essential relationship we're supposed to have with ourselves, and tarot is a great tool to tap into that. And I find that a lot of my querents who come for readings with me actually don't have any other times in their life really when they focus on themselves, and that is the honest to God truth. Like, I have a really regular client who comes to me, and she's a teacher, she works all the hours God sends, she is a wife, she is very, very involved in her family life, she's into charity work. It's like she never gets time for herself, and she is spiritual and she is on a spiritual path, but a lot of the time I feel like the times that she comes to me for readings are the only times that she actually allows herself that quality experience where she listens to her own voice and she gives herself a bit of time for her own thoughts and her own feelings. And she should be giving herself way more than that, you know, like a tarot reading once a month is not enough. And I always say that to her. I say you need to broaden and deepen the relationship with yourself, and the reason you don't is probably because you feel you don't deserve it, or you feel it's stupid to want that, or you feel your time could be better spent doing something else. But no, it couldn't. It is beautifully spent just doing that, just giving yourself some time. And one sort of key message that I think is really important when it comes to goals with tarot, and of course it's a cliche, but I'm going to get it right out there anyway, because if you carry on watching the Tea and Tarot series, you're going to see so much of this card, it's not even funny. Death. Death, of course, is the ultimate challenge put to you in terms of how you're going to deal with change. Are you going to yield to it? Are you going to be flexible? Are you going to challenge yourself? Are you going to have a funeral for fear? Give up that fear, put it in the ground, and move on with a fresh set of shoes. Move on with a fresh pair of eyes, you know. Don't be stuck in the past. Be free, be movable, you know. Be like the wind. Death kind of has this message, and it has this huge message of accepting and embracing rebirth. And it's basically a statement with regard to the unpredictable nature of life too. I mean, there are some choices that we make and some changes that occur that we can see coming and we can prepare for. And there are some that just come out of the blue. And when you assess a goal that you've held for a really long time, that you felt defined you for a long time, that you really felt was that future horizon that you were heading towards, and suddenly it makes no sense to you anymore, or you want something else, you know, or you don't think that's going to make you happy, or it completely alienates you, that is where the message of death becomes so important. Because is it a crisis, or is it an opportunity to grab hold of that other thing? Is it you losing a sense of yourself, or is it a perfect opportunity for you to spend some quality time with yourself, getting down with yourself, reassessing what you want, writing about it, involving yourself in shadow work, maybe going for a long walk, you know? Enjoy these moments that feel so scary and so uncontrollable and so out there. Grab them and actually think, this is actually an opportunity. It's not as painful as I think it is. It's actually just a type of psychic birth. It's me giving birth to that next phase of myself, and I can do this. And not only can I do it, I'm going to bloody well enjoy it, because it's the stuff of life I was not made to stand still. So yeah, that's my first Tea and Tarot episode about goals and what kind of main messages the tarot offers in terms of how to address and assess your goals, and how to move on from goals that you maybe don't really feel such a huge attachment to anymore. I've really enjoyed doing this, and I'm just going to finish the rest of my Choco Aztec Spice, and I shall see you guys all in a bit. And I'm probably just going to go and surf and have a look at some videos now, because I've seen that a lot of people that I love on YouTube have been uploading like mad, so I've got the rest of my evening worked out.